We will kick things off with an introduction. I will say hello, everyone. Welcome to Lunch Break with GABC. I'm your host, Ashley Mateos, coming to you live from the Carl-Schurz-Haus. For those of you who don't know, the Carl-Schurz-Haus is the German-American Institute in Freiburg, Germany. We offer a diverse cultural program, English language courses for all ages, and we also have a vibrant all-English library. We are a nonprofit institute supported in part by our members. The main goal of the Carl-Schurz-Haus is to facilitate transatlantic discourse across all areas, ranging from literature to politics to business, which is what brings us here today. In addition to coordinating the English language courses for adults at the Carl-Schurz-Haus and in companies, I'm also head of our German-American business community, or GABC. We provide events centered around transatlantic business relations, professional development, and networking. I would like to take this time to thank you for choosing to spend your lunch break with us. Here with me today is Christiane Beinroth of Azurate Online Consulting, which is one of our GABC members, and Hannah Teslin of Business Babes Abroad. Also with us is my assistant, Leah, who I'm sure if you're tuning in via Zoom, you'll notice she's dropping in some useful links into the chat. For anyone viewing via YouTube, these links will be uploaded to the recording later. So today marks our 10th lunch break episode, actually. We've come a long way since our inaugural lunch break with Bert Sutter and Meg McGill, and are so happy to continue this journey of learning while you lunch with all of you. So we're going to shake up the format a little bit today. First, I'm going to interview Christiane about her coaching and consultancy, and then we're going to talk with Hannah about freelancing as well as establishing a community in Germany. If you're tuning in via Zoom, you're welcome to post any questions in the chat for Christiane, Hannah, or myself, and we'll do our best to answer them. All right, so let's start with Christiane. Christiane is an international strategist, coach, and trainer who specializes in working with expats and international talent, as well as HR managers and supervisors in order to target assignee satisfaction. She has a very international background with work experiences ranging from instructing in Slovakia to being a change facilitator in DC to establishing her online consultancy agency here in the Freiburg area. We're so happy to have her as one of our GABC members because she is such an active member in the expat community as well as entrepreneurial circles here in the Freiburg area. Some of you may know her from co-working spaces or networking events, maybe podcasts that she's been a guest on, or maybe even from the online workshop that she held for us on finding your footing during international transitions. So we're going to hear more from Christiane herself now, actually. Thank you for joining us today, Christiane.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you for having me today. Thanks for the invite. And congratulations on 10 times lunch break. Awesome. Yeah.
I would first like to just start with jumping in. So for our viewers that don't know too much about what it is that you do, could you describe your services and the coaching that you offer in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, sure, Ashley. Because I know these are all like little big words floating around and it can get pretty abstract. To make it simple, I kind of take care of the side effects if somebody works internationally. Like if you work internationally or if you have people in your team that are internationals, usually you have to take care of things like the relocation or language course or then the onboarding, people to find their way into the new working place. But often there are side effects like, the culture difference, maybe a lack of cultural intelligence, how to communicate, maybe a sense of uneasiness in who you are, how you feel, like all those little soft aspects, or maybe even the ambiguity of you bring your skills, but maybe they are not viewed or valued in the way that you were used to it from the home country. So there are a lot of little things, and I think they are kind of like the lubricant in working when you work internationally. And if they are missing, there can be tensions, there can be frictions, and that's where I come in. That's where I help with coaching or training if a company approaches me, and that's kind of what I offer. I offer services because I've lived in the US for a long time. I offer service if somebody from the US moves to Germany and works here, or vice versa if they move to the US. So that's kind of roughly what I offer.
Okay. And what is it that drew you to become an expat coach and assignment consultant?
So I would say like the whole like international thing, it always attracted me from early on, from when I was a child. I just think it enriches our lives, like the whole international aspect. And then it was this thing that evolved. Like I come from the area of teaching, training, education. And I realized over the years that I was appreciated for that I can listen, that I have listening skills, that I can break down content, that people just came to me for, just advice when it came to, like, I lived internationally for about 20 years total, and I changed countries here and there. And people came to me, and I realized I had something that I could contribute. And I decided to add a master in business coaching and change management. And that's how I kind of got into it. Then I started my coaching business about 3 years ago. I kind of got into it that way. Yeah, so it was kind of a thing that evolved, like a love for it. Like I said earlier, it's the soft things, the soft factors that are often overlooked, but they are important and can be deal breakers. So that's kind of what my heart is into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see you're quite passionate about it.
Yes, I am.
So if it's possible to generalize, what would you say are things that maybe an HR representative tends to forget or maybe neglect when assigning workers to a new location or hiring employees from abroad?
So, I mean, these are very different situations. If you have an assignee going somewhere, usually there's more money involved. It's usually easier. There might be some intercultural training anyway. What we easily forget in that regard, I would say, is that if somebody moves to a different location, they are changing. We will be changing too at the home location, but we tend to forget that they will be changing as a person in their new environment. And to keep that in mind, I think is important that we don't just refer to them or communicate with them as their old, how they were when they worked here. And then the thing is too that they are in a sandwich position between their local like place abroad and your home base. And that's let's say you move to America and the plant there, the company, the decision making or the procedures are just different than in Germany. So they might find themselves in a sandwich position, like things like that. And then if it comes to somebody moving here, what is often overlooked is kind of the factors that I talked about, because and I'm very happy about the new laws that we have now, that it's getting easier for skilled workers to come to Germany, the immigration processes, and also that we have more welcome centers, that there's more support in the whole relocation process. But then, so, it's around the housing or the changing the driver's license or the language course. But then it comes to those topics like, can you communicate? Can you function in the international team? How do you feel, and like the things I mentioned. And I think that is easily overlooked and forgotten. And also the funding is not there because it's very soft. It's not tangible. It's just hard to grasp. You can't put it into numbers. And that's why, like, my advice, so that's easily overlooked. And my advice would be there to say, to maybe the whole training and working for internationals, to see it as part of sustainability. Because many companies already have to measure and show a framework of sustainability. And if like diversity, the aspect of the international is part of the people factor of social sustainability. And if we can put it more like into that area, it might be easier to make it measurable and get funding for it to offer training maybe for the internationals or support them more.
Okay. Yeah. Sustainability is also a very huge topic at this point in time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And would you say that these sorts of relocations or also those sandwich positions, does that have an effect on a worker's morale or even the morale of the team?
So yes, it would indirectly, because if there are tensions, underlying tensions or misunderstandings, or if you feel like you're not valued the way you think you're supposed to be, or just little issues like that, or just living in a different country, you also question yourself a little, who am I? It affects your self-efficacy, your self-worth, and these things can undermine the morale. Yes, they can be deal breakers if other challenges come up. They can be just a little, thing that is too much. So yes, definitely, it affects the morale, I would say, in sneaky ways, sometimes not very obvious, sometimes not even aware. And that's why I think the awareness is important, to grow the awareness in these fields. I don't know, does it make sense? Is it understandable?
Definitely.
Okay.
I think being aware is also a huge part of it, in order to know what's happening so that you can then tend to your assignees or to your new hires in order to make them feel comfortable or to know how it's affecting them. Yeah. So are there any current milestones or campaigns, maybe workshops that you have coming up that you would like to share?
So nothing major right now. It's summer too, but there's one thing that I'm starting, and it's a little group for people who work internationally. Basically, it's maybe once a month or every 3 weeks. I will see. I put a date, probably plan a date now in August. It will be an online call, and there will be guidelines around the communication and privacy. But I've been part myself of a group like that, and I find it very efficient, because what I will do is I will give some, introduction on a topic that is valuable for about 20 minutes, and then we can talk about it or discuss other things that come up. Because often people who work, like let's say in Germany, that are internationals, might not find a good place where they can exchange their worries and issues. So that's what I'm having the planning. If somebody's interested, they can contact me and let me know. So it's about a once a month call, a Zoom call for little content, discuss it, and just have a good place for exchange.
Okay, well, that sounds really great. Definitely. If you once get a plan or a rhythm going, share the information, and I'd be happy to share it with the community as well.
Yes, I will. Sure, I will make sure you get that. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much, Christiane. If anybody would like to learn more about Azurate Consulting or to speak with Christiane directly, I encourage you to visit her webpage or connect with her via LinkedIn or Instagram. So now I would like to bring back Hannah to give her a little introduction, and to also, we're going to have a chat now with the three of us, actually. So a little bit more about Hannah first. Hannah is a Canadian content creator, community builder, and event organizer who has been living in Germany since 2014, right?
Yes.
I actually first heard of Hannah through the Expat Cast, which is a podcast where expats share their stories with Nicole Palazzo. However, you may know Hannah from her Instagram or TikTok accounts, where she talks about travel, culture, language, working abroad, and also gives some tips for curly hair in Germany.
Yes, very random tips. Broad spectrum of content.
Right? Yeah. She's also the community manager of the Hamburg-based Business Babes Abroad, which is a group for internationally driven she's, theys, and gays interested in improving their careers in business, marketing, and communication. So she's here with us today to give us her insight into freelancing, as well as establishing a community here abroad. I think before we kind of slip into this chat, maybe you can start with just telling us a little bit more about your freelance journey, kind of in a nutshell.
Of course, yeah. So I always wanted to eventually become freelance. I worked for 6 years for a tech company in Hamburg, and I was their global event marketing manager. So I had a lot of experience doing events all around Europe and also North America. And after the pandemic, like the event industry was definitely hit because there was no events, there was no travel or anything like that. So event manager roles yeah, basically I was laid off. So I thought, okay, this is the opportunity to do something on my own. I already had my TikTok and Instagram, which was a bit of a side hustle. So I said, okay, I can just be self-employed. So that's when my self-employed journey started May last year, where I was like, okay, either find a new job or let's just try the self-employed thing out. You never know. Take a chance. If it works, works. Doesn't, you can find a job again. It's not going to be the end of the world. So I decided to take the jump and become fully self-employed. So I work as a freelance event manager. I have a few clients in that, and I'm also content creator, which keeps my work very diverse. I have, the corporate life still, which keeps me grounded, and then my influencer life, which is like my creative thing. So it's actually been really fun.
Yeah, wow. And have you noticed any sort of cultural shifts that's influenced your work at all?
It's different because I worked for a Danish-owned company, and it's different now working for German clients. I have to say that there's a different kind of company culture, which is taking have to get used to that. So, and also like being a self-employed person, it's more about customer service as well. It's always making sure the customers are happy and you are somewhat part of the team, but you're also not. You're kind of like an outsider in many ways too. So working in the corporate life in Europe, you're very much integrated. You're at all the events, you know everyone, but a freelancer with clients in Europe there's like definitely more of a wall, but you keep on one side of the wall and you do your things. And it's not like you have as when you're working in a team in the corporate world, you may have a title with one thing, but the team, you have to support other things when people are on vacation. But as a freelancer, it's kind of like this is your one job. So that's been a different change for me.
Right. And you've also established this Business Babes Abroad too. Could you give everyone a brief overview, a little bit more about BBA?
Yes, of course. So when I first came to Germany in 2014, I found it hard to find women with the same kind of career goals as me. I did meet lots of women, but either they were here just temporarily or they were here for more family reasons, which is also totally fine. But I really wanted to find a group of women who were very career oriented, with growing in their career and networking and helping each other with different career paths. And at the time, finding a job in Hamburg as an international person, also as a woman with limited German, was quite hard. So it was really nice to have a support group of women who we faced the same struggles. We also faced the same struggles at work when it came to working in international environment as a minority, as not a German. There was also a lot of things we could share with each other that we would all understand, and maybe someone who's not an international person wouldn't understand. And it kind of grew from there. Now it's something much bigger than this. We do a lot of events now in Hamburg, networking events, workshops. We have a very like an Instagram channel where we're always sharing like memes about working in Germany or like content, resourceful content. And we're also slowly expanding our reach and doing events in Munich as well, which is much closer to Freiburg. Little meetups for women there too. We've had 2 now, working on a 3rd in August. And I'm going to an entrepreneurship program in October. So my main focus is to actually grow Business Babes Abroad to what I want it to be, because I love planning events, since obviously I'm an event manager. And I have a lot of fun planning events for BBA because it's my event. I get to kind of create how I want it. And I think that's really fulfilling for me. So I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think communities like this are so important as an expat myself, who's also trying to connect with other working women, working moms in the area too. It can be hard, and making friends with Germans is also quite difficult.
Yes. And we have a lot of Germans in our group now too. And they always, they reach out to us. They're just like, I'm German. Can I come to your events? And we're like, yeah, of course. I mean, it's an international mindset. We don't just target like international women. If you've lived abroad or you want to be friends with international people or make international contacts, we welcome them as well.
And to bring Christiane in as well, What do you think about this type of organization? Do you think something like this could exist within like a corporate culture, or do you think it's better to have it like outside of the workplace so you have your own little community where you're able to connect with others?
I would say have it outside or have different ones. It could be both. It could be both. Both have advantages and disadvantages. I think if you have it outside, you don't have to worry about that it, that what you say is carried to people that you don't want it to hear. You might be more open for exchange. That's the reason why I want to start that group that I mentioned earlier. And yeah, so I would say I totally like the idea of what I've never heard about it, the business babes. I like that. I think it's a great idea. All these networking groups around, focusing on life abroad or maybe focused on work more, they're valuable. And any initiative inside of the company, yes, definitely it helps. And also definitely I would also make sure within the company, there's ways for people to give their feedback and not be worried that, that they don't have to worry that it's criticized, but that they can feel free to share the concerns or ideas that they have. So yeah, I totally like the idea for the business babes. I really do.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry. I was going to say we also have a WhatsApp. We started a WhatsApp group a few months ago. It's like a WhatsApp community. It's a new feature with WhatsApp. And this has been really, really great because we are doing every second Monday job postings day. So I will tell the group, hey, look on your career website and look if there's any open positions. And if people see something, they post it in a group and we can share different jobs. I mean, you can't do that inside of a corporate company because people be like, you can't look for a new job at work. So.
Right.
And can I add something to what you said earlier, Hannah, that there are Germans who like to join your group, and I can totally identify it because I have lived abroad for so many years and feel like I'm not just German, I'm also part American or just international. And I think that's important to mention too, that there are just local people who love that vibe, who love that, maybe stepping out of the usual and having a different viewpoint on things. That's what I love about international settings too. So I'm not surprised you're saying people love to join. They might have international experience, and yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. On the other hand, what another reason I started the group is because there's many women in business networking groups for German speaking people. And it's funny when you go to these as a woman who's international, the people there are more like, oh, you're here, but they will not switch to English. So it's funny that we are so accommodating to international people, non-international people joining our group. I mean, welcome, welcome. But the other way around, it doesn't work so well, I find.
That actually speaks to something that Christiane had mentioned earlier about this need or desire for a societal change in how people think about internationals and what they bring to the table, especially if you're looking at Germany as a whole, to see, okay, well, we want to have this event. Should it be in German? Should it be in English? How do we incorporate everybody then here? Yeah, I think that it's something that it also pulls you in many different directions too. I know in going to many networking events myself, there's a big difference between a German networking event and more American style event or an international style networking event. There's a lot more openness to it. There's a lot more mix of language that happens, whereas with the German networking event, I found that unless you already know somebody, it's very hard to get to know somebody.
Yeah, I would have the same experience.
Yeah.
And I think we can also, if we organize the events, we can kindly set the guidelines. If you prefer that your meeting is in English, then I think you can kindly ask for it. And also, Ashley, what you mentioned about the societal change, it so reminds me of climate change, the whole thing that we, I think as a country, like in Germany, can learn from internationals and maybe, it's great we have our standards, what we expect of people in our workplace that come from other countries, but at the same time, maybe reflect and see, hey, where can we ease up and actually learn from other cultures? Where is the standard of German? Where does that? It doesn't have to be perfect. It's enough like a certain language level to be able to communicate. And I think it's just, it's messy, this process in learning and seeing where our society can go in terms of learning from other countries and thinking of internationals. It's just, I don't know the end of the thought now, but basically, basically, I think it's a journey, and we can just all come together and try the best.
And I think it's important for international entrepreneurs and business people to get involved and be part of that, because it's the nationals are not necessarily going to know what it is that you need until you speak up and you make those needs known.
Yeah.
I've had I worked in a German office, but for a Danish company for 6 years, and I had the experience, a really lucky experience, that I got to travel to all the other companies' offices around Europe because I was doing their events, and I was always so surprised. Like, for instance, the Netherlands or Sweden or all the Scandinavian countries, when I would come and sit down for lunch with my colleagues, they'd be like, "Oh, Hannah's here," and they'd immediately switch to English. However, when I was in Germany and I'd sit down and lunch with my colleagues, although I do speak an average, I don't say an amazing German, but I do speak okay German. I can understand most, but in group situations, my German's not the best with like all the back and forth. But they would just be like, "Oh, it's fine, we stay in German, right, Hannah?" I'd be like, "Sure." Or even having people who weren't working in the office from outside of the office, from other countries, come visit the German office, and we'd go out for lunch, and German people would still keep speaking German. And I'd have to tell them, like, "Guys, like, why are you still speaking German? There's someone who can't speak any German here." They're like, oh yeah. So it's a very different mindset in Germany sometimes.
Yeah, it can be. Well, I think that I might need to interject now at this point and start to wrap things up.
Sure.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your insights and input, Hannah and Christiane. I encourage everybody in our audience to connect and follow them on social media. If you happen to miss an event or want to check out past events from the Carl-Schurz-Haus or GABC, be sure to check out our YouTube page for recordings. You can also see other GABC member updates on our GABC LinkedIn showcase page. The Carl-Schurz-Haus programming calendar will be back in September. This is our last event and then we're on a summer break. But in September, there's going to be a variety of events, including an event with Rachel Yoder, who's the author of Night Bitch. We're also going to have George W. Bush's speechwriter, David Frum, give a talk on Can America Be Trusted Again? So definitely check out the Carl-Schurz-Haus website for more information on those. As for upcoming GABC events, on October 16th at 5 o'clock, there's going to be an event in collaboration with BWCon and Advent Biden on how to enter the US market. And on November 24th, we will have our annual Thanksgiving Business Day dinner. For anyone looking to improve their English skills, we also offer general and business English courses, both online and in person. I would like to once again thank my guests, Christiane and Hannah, for joining me today. It has been highly informative, and we did it in less than 30 minutes. That's great. Thanks as well to all of our viewers and listeners for learning while you lunch. This has actually been my last event before I head off into a brief hiatus for my maternity leave, but my Carl-Schurz-Haus colleagues will guest host a variety of GABC events, so you can already save the date for our next lunch break with GABC on November 8th, and we will, of course, have our annual International Women's Day Business Networking event in March of next year. So I hope to see you again, either online or in person at a Carl-Schurz-Haus for our next event. Enjoy the rest of your lunch break, everyone, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. Bye.